Hey everyone, at our latest Trade to Black podcast, we talk commodities, where we sit down with a mining influencer who outlines 3 companies that he likes short term and why. As well, he also outlines 2 things to look for if you're new to investing in the junior mining industry. What are they? He breaks them all down right now in our latest Trade to Black podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Trade to Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and this week we're talking commodities. The market has been very volatile, to say the least, this year in 2022. We've seen a shift into commodities. However, it's having a tough time too. But what do you think? How does this industry perform here in Q4? Has the industry grabbed your interest? If so, what does interest you? Leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel because, again, we would not be here without you, and click on that bell for notifications. As usual, before we get started, all views on the Trade to Black podcast and the guests on this podcast are purely opinion. You should not treat any opinions expressed by us or our guests as investment advice. The views on this podcast are solely intended to be informational and are not investment advice. Okay, let's go. We welcome in our guest of the week. He's back to the podcast, was on with us. I don't know where time goes. I was looking this last night, but it's been 6 months since he came on. Greg Shafransky, known as Stock Shaman on Twitter. He's an influencer in the mining industry. Greg, great to have you back. How are things?
I'm thrilled to be back. Thanks, guys. And, we've had better days, but, it's times like this. You got the situation in the commodity sector. Gold traded down, I think, 1690 today.
Yeah.
It looks like it wants to go to 1680 town. 1680 town, as I've been, telling people, and if you just pull out a chart, is a big, resistance level of a support, more of a support level. We've seen copper was off over 2% today. I hope Dr. Copper recovers soon. It was down. Copper got down to 313 in the last 6-7 weeks, and it bounced back up to 370, and now we're at 3 something. It's not. People look at copper and they call him Dr. Copper is because the price of copper is indicative to the world global economy.
Right.
So it's one thing you should watch. To give you an idea which way's up in the world, the DXY, look at that and see its comparison to where gold's trading. They're directly proportional. We're going into some very exciting times now, tumultuous. We're just, I think we're under 70 days to the midterms here in the United States.
Yeah.
There's going to be lots of fun, and I know you guys like pot. So, I'm not saying you smoke pot, boys. I'm just saying you got a fan base for the pot. Look, there's no question in my mind. Joey, aka Brandon, aka Joe Biden, is going to pull the pot card, and it's going to be all joy for you guys. Aren't you happy about that?
Well, I hope you're right.
Greg, since you started with gold in the beginning of that of the segment, let me start there. Since breaching $2,000 an ounce in March, gold has been pretty much hammered consistently throughout, lower highs. Now we're sitting at around 1,700 per ounce. As you said, could go down to 1,680 or so of next support. Gold hasn't really been, it's been a traditional inflation hedge, but not really this time. We understand that higher yields is not good for gold, and the strong U.S. dollar is not good for gold. But are you surprised that gold is not really hanging on or performing that well in a high inflation environment?
Yeah, to some extent. It just as Mr. Dale there suggested earlier before we started talking, it's the silver market, the gold market. You got JPM guys that are just going to wait. They're waiting. They're guilty. They're waiting to get their sentencing on their manipulation of gold and silver and platinum, palladium. These markets, they're more emotional than they are. Well, let's face it. Gold is an asset. It's a hard asset you hold in times of what we may be looking at. When things go upside down. And you at least got something you can buy some bread and milk with. But it doesn't surprise me because of the manipulation we've seen over the decades. I've seen it for decades. And they don't want you to hold the gold. They don't like you to hold the gold. They keep dropping the price, so you stick in the U.S. dollar. It's and for lack of more exacting terms, it's really a Ponzi scam.
Greg, why
And
don't they want you to hold gold? Can you explain that into further detail for our audience to understand?
well, if you hold gold, it's not for the upside potential. It's a security thing.
Right.
You know, it. I mean, I've had a lot of rabbis, business kind, you know, old wise guys I grew up. I started in the business with, and they said, if you're doing investing, the smartest thing you could do is, 10% of what you got you're investing in the stock market, commodities, whatever. You should hold 10% of that in gold, the physical stuff, for when things come unglued. So you're not really holding it for its intrinsic value. It's a security measure.
Right.
It's a security measure. And but why we see the wide swings on gold, and the DXY almost hit 110 today, and gold went down. Of course, I think it hit 1690. I haven't checked it recently. And silver, what a pummeling it's taken in the last week. It's unbelievable. Oh,
So to Ben's point, when it's been so volatile this year, and what you've said about gold, now obviously is the perfect time to be holding gold. Why has it suffered so much this year? I'm not understanding.
again, it's a big game. It's a big boy game. We're not in it. You want to have a strong dollar. You got to have a weak gold, because the two, people our central banks around the world holding U.S. dollars right now. FYI, they're at a 25-year low holding U.S. And that's including the treasuries. So that's the dollars and the treasuries. What's been happening with the central banks? They've been just loading up on gold, large.
Yeah.
I think Qatar just grabbed 14 tons.
Yep.
We got June's number. I know it's already September, but we got June's number from Hong Kong. They tripled their gold buys. And it's other countries, Pakistan. I can't list them all. But listen, here's an example. You want to get the straight skinny, a real world comparison. You're a dude living in Argentina. You're a dude living in Turkey. Okay, you said, I think this inflation thing might get a little bit out of hand, but I'm gonna take my U.S. dollars and buy some gold, just in
Okay.
case
Yep.
it shit hits the fan, right?
Right.
Oh no, I didn't do that.
Okay.
70, it hit 80% in inflation hit 80% in Turkey here just like last month. So if you had gold, and all of a sudden, the cost of the cost of everything you're eating gone up 70-80%, at least you could turn it into gold and feed yourself. The same thing happened in Argentina. When they're talking about jacking the rates up in the States to fight inflation, just look at Argentina. They got like 70, I think it's 70+% inflation, but they jacked their rates up. Scary is just, you could maybe fact check this. When I saw this number, it was kind of like, what the heck? Interest rates are 61%. So is that what they got planned for us? Because it could be, because no one could afford a home, and the mortgage is underwater so deep you can't even see the bottom. These are
But
things.
Greg,
these
isn't
are
that the paradox of the gold price? Like, it's largely denominated in US dollars worldwide. Everybody compares it to that US dollar benchmark, right? But if you look at other nations, like you mentioned, developing nations, semi-developed nations, the price of gold is actually rising against local currencies. But yet, whenever we look at it against the US dollar, it doesn't go anywhere. In fact, the US dollar is probably definitely outperforming gold over the last year, because
yeah.
it's under the price. While the US dollar keeps rising, gold is basically status quo or lower than it was a year ago. So is that frustrating? That is the US dollar, gold versus the US dollar, the last domino to fall, where at some point something's going to happen with that price denomination?
Okay, well, hang on. Here it comes, boys. So Russia just launched a $500 million bond
Okay.
for a gold venture. So it's a gold fund. It was issued in yuan.
Okay.
Okay, Egypt just announced that they're doing a $500 million bond issue, and it's issued in yuan. They're priced in yuan, both of them. If you can't see you got to look and see what's happening out here, boys. So that BRICS is coming on hard. They announced that they're going to have their own central bank digital currency for the BRICS. Saudi Arabia, Iran, and even Turkey of all, Turkey's in NATO, but they want to join the BRICS. So, what you're looking at is a fiat currency that's based on whatever you see on your screen,
Right.
as opposed to the BRICS currency, which will be a resource-based currency. And here's the situation, and this is how I see it. I'm not a seer, but I got an astute grasp of the obvious. I'm looking at the macro trend. I watch all the big moving pieces, and those two things I just told you about, those bond issues, that should be like ding, ding, ding in your head. What's going on? Well, I think it's going to happen here, and it's more or less, in my mind, we're days away. Is the China is going to seek, well, let's call it reunification with Taiwan. And it's going to happen any day now and China and Taiwan just shot down a military drone off of the coast. There's an island Taiwan has really close to the coast of China. I don't know if you've ever looked at the map, but they just shot down a drone. So things are getting a little bit tight there. But gentlemen, they have a 5-year plan. China's playing 5 years ahead. We're playing like what happened yesterday, or what's happening right now. But they're planning 5 years ahead. So in the 5-year plan, they announced stockpiling. You know who stockpiles? Someone's going to go to war. That's like Art of War 101. Make sure you got all the stuff you need before you launch into it. So what I do see, gentlemen, and it's not a happy event, but we're going to see the end of the reserve currency for the USD, or at least a significant challenge. Because if you could only imagine, if Saudi Arabia joins the BRICS,
You think that's going to happen?
how much? Because there goes your petrodollar thesis rate. It's already down the drain. It's heading out to the sewage plant. So these are serious big moves, and these are already thought out. I'm just making you aware of them now.
But people have been saying this for years, Greg. Why do you think now is the time? I understand the upheaval
Well, it's timing,
in China,
okay?
Taiwan, all over the world, but
let's just go back on it. China had the Summer Olympics, and Russia helps themselves to half of Georgia or a third of Georgia. Okay, Russia, and these Olympics are triggers. Like someone's going to grab something. So
Right.
the Russians just had the Olympics, and they said, "Well, we're going to give ourselves Ukraine for a present."
Right.
It's China's 100th year birthday. Let's just look at the facts. They took back Hong Kong. They took back Macau. They just took over the South China Sea. You don't think they're going to take Taiwan? And why? It's timing. Because as we go into which is going to be an ugly midterms, it's already starting to be ugly in the States, in the middle of those midterms is the best time when America's flat-footed and the president's out there campaigning to make sure they don't lose the Congress and the Senate. I don't know how the numbers add up, but this is where the Chinese aren't stupid. They know this. We're going to do it now, okay? Because they already said it at the 5-year at the plenum, which is they get 2,000 of the top commies from all around China, 2,000 of them in the room. It's the 5-year plan. It's something called a plenum, and they sit there in conference for 2 or 3 days. And one day they came out that one of the things that they voted on that's going to happen is unification with Taiwan. So
how does that affect the gold price then? If what you say comes to pass and they unify, what happens then?
These are all different pieces and different stages of how I see it being played out. So we're going to get the BRICS are going to get the digital yuan, which is already being used by possibly hundreds of millions of Chinese. So it's all beta tested. In fact, you couldn't go to the Olympics and use cash or your credit card. The Winter Olympics in China. Yeah. No cash, no credit cards. The only thing you could use was digital yuan that was on your phone. Okay, and that digital that let's not go there. Let's just deal with the macro financial thing. So I think that how are they going to time this thing? Do you do you take Taiwan, then bring out the BRICS digital currency? These are moves that I don't see, but these are things that are going to happen, and they're going to happen this year. And some of these things are going to happen inside the next 60 days. And
Wow.
you're worrying about you got a situation. So you got a war in Ukraine, and you got a war in Taiwan that probably won't last long. But those kind of traumas, global traumas,
Yeah.
are usually drive gold up. You know, so you take Taiwan and then you launch the BRICS digital currency backed by gold because they could. They could actually back it by gold, not like 100%, but even if it's 5, 10, 15%, who wants to own, just like I stated, the central banks are at 25-year, this central banks, I mean, Bank of Canada, Bank of England, it's just, these are the central banks, like we have the Fed here, they got the Fed in the United States. These are the banks globally that are buying up the gold. They're dumping the U.S. Treasuries. China's dumping I can't remember the number, but they're selling all their U.S. Treasuries, and they were the biggest holder. Guess who's buying them? The Fed. It's to keep adding it to their balance sheet. The Fed borrowed $7 trillion in the last 2 years from themselves.
So Greg, let me break this down.
Okay.
This is all, information that people may agree, may disagree, but what's your overall strategy? Like if a lot of this stuff comes into play in the next, little bit within 60 days, what would one strategy be when it comes to, I guess, investing for the most part over the next year?
It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
It's here's what I see in the commodity sector, and if my thesis about the Taiwanese situation, that's going to drive commodity prices up. That and gold, I was over listening to somebody you were talking to about the German deal. It's something that was just announced. Big time move because the Germans are facing a real winter of discontent coming up, and
That was the hydrogen cord.
you can't even find firewood there. It's been cleaned out, and then they don't want you going into the Black Forest and cutting trees down, which is stupid because you got to wait. The trees got to wait a year before you can burn. Anyways,
For sure.
Off topic. So no, it's these are tumultuous times. These are where men are tested, and I'm playing. I got a lot of advantage over a lot of people because I got the experience. So I'm playing these juniors and I'm making money, laughing and scratching. But and that's this is why I wanted to bring up let's just touch base, if I might, on my last discussion, which was core assets.
Okay.
Trading symbol CC. So they found a significant. Okay, let's just explain this. So this is in Atlan. This is north western BC, almost at the Yukon border. This is where the property is. Atlan's a big lake, and so they started near the lake, a lower elevation, and they drilled this target. They hit 20, 30 meters of 1% copper. This is not shabby, but this was a Johnny Come Lately drill project that they started in June. Getting up there in June is a big deal because it's cold up there and there's snow, etc. Then they've moved up to another property. Now they moved up the hill because it's getting warmer, and they've just finished drilling out this one project that I'd like to point out that I call it the crown jewels. This is the jewelry box. They got some absolutely stupid trenching and backpack drilling core results. Went on for almost a kilometer. They're up. They just finished drilling that one. And why I like to highlight that one is what they found on the surface there and this is the second. I can't remember the name of the drill site, but what they found on the surface there is the identical it's almost the identical metallurgical composition of a company called WAM. The symbol is WAM, WAM.
Okay.
You pull that. You guys pull that up on your charts when you got a chance. WAM. And so they make a hit, big hit in Alaska. It's like the same metallurgical makeup, like really high grade stuff. Well, the stock went from a 60, I think I thought it went up to $5-6. It's thinking about $4 now. Well, that's a harbinger. You want a better example for when those assays they just finished doing, because they're on the third spot up the hill. Well, the third spot up the hill, the Grizzly, I know that one. I don't know why I can remember that one. That one they found 2,000 grams per ton silver. And they're just drilling that. So I anticipate drill results coming very shortly from the treasure chest, Crown Jewel site.
What's the name of this company again?
This is Core Assets.
Core Assets. And
Now,
what's the ticker symbol?
It's CC.
CC. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the CSE.
What's it trade
Now,
at now?
I want to share some kibitzing information with you, a little bit of maybe backstory, but you guys people don't get to hear. But that one, folks, could be. I wouldn't say a 10-bagger from here, but we're multi-bagger. And listen, there's no guarantee you're going to get a big score, but you got to have some skin in the game. Don't dump all your money into it. It's not wise. This is still a speculative venture. You're not. This company is exploring, but just like WAM went from 60 cents to $5 on a big discovery. I'm giving you a direct example.
So when you say
metallurgical makeup,
when you say possible 10xer, like what makes you feel and think that, and what timeline are we talking here?
well, it's going to happen. I think you're going to get towards the end of September. We'll get the results from the second level, which I can't remember the name of the drill site. And then going into the back nine of the year, you're going to get the results from the Grizzly, which had the 2,000 grams per ton surface sample silver. It's we're sitting on a system that they call it a CRD, and it's a geological term for the type of deposit it is. And if these guys do have a CRD, then I can't remember the actual. I think one CRD went a couple of years, was bought by a major for something like 2.2 billion, and I think another CRD. This is a geological term for the kind of mineral deposit, CRD. Another one went for almost $3 billion in South America. So you find one of these things, someone's going to come along and give you the hook. And
So, Greg,
and that's just the fact. It's a big guy. It's a big dogs that come in and say, you know what, we know what you got. Here's a check. So what I want to cover on this thing is something maybe you don't know. I don't know if you guys know Newfoundland Gold.
No, I haven't heard of it.
NFG. It's been the darling of the mining sector. NFG, Newfoundland Gold.
Okay.
Well, the president of Core is a geologist, sold Newfoundland Gold, which went to telephone numbers, the property that they discovered. So the geologist, which is the president of Core Assets, in his private life, he's a geologist, and he staked these claims, sold them to Newfoundland Gold, and they drilled it, and they found telephone number gold. Okay, so let's just say that's one part of the parlay. The other part of the parlay that you guys need to know about Core is that the 9.9% of them is owned by Crescat Capital. And a guy named Quentin heads that up. And Crescat Capital is on YouTube. Crescat Capital is on Twitter. They got a huge 100,000 plus followers. These guys are well-heeled mining guys. And Crescat Capital made serious hay buying into and disseminating information about Newfoundland Gold. Okay, so I don't know if you're getting all the pieces here. So Core Assets gets majorly funded by Crescat.
Gotcha.
Another guy you should follow is Tabby DaCosta on Twitter. This guy's got nothing but gold. He's in the Crescat group too. These guys are on YouTube. They got a big following.
So, Greg, let me ask you this. It seems like you're from what you're describing, you do a lot of the way you do due diligence in the mining sector seems to be like you really dissect the assets that these mining groups have and who is backing them and all that. So let me ask you, do you focus more on the actual core assets of these companies and what they have as opposed to, say, the technicals, which seem to work better in sectors like the cannabis sector where everything seems to move in unison more or less? Is it really more important in mining that it's very asset specific and things don't move in general as a sector, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's the situation, and that's So let's look at the thing is there's a certain look it up. Buying junior miner stocks. There's tutorials out there. So basically, everything you've seen in the tutorial, I'm the dean of. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, I know these guys, and I'll call them up, and we'll see each other, and we'll kibitz on the street. So, but I'm not judging them, but I know that it's my milieu. This is my genre. And so putting it, and you guys know sport betting, it's a parlay. That's the one that gets me really going. I like hitting up 2, 3, 4, 5 game parlay. That's where I pat myself on the back and again my head gets big. But this is what you're looking for is a parlay. I concentrate mostly on the actual ground and the resources in the ground, the type of mineralogical composition it is, the grade. I know enough about this stuff that I'll go and use satellite data, and I'll go deep, not just looking underground and the metallurgical kind of deposit is, but I'll use satellite data and I'll snoop around there, and that way you can pick out big systems. You say, hey, these guys are sitting there. I should maybe call my buddy up and we'll get the claims all around them because they're sitting on just the edge of a big system. Well, don't do this at home, kids. So now I just want to go back onto the Crescat Capital, Newfoundland Gold, core asset for my top pick today, and that is a company called BCM Resources.
Okay.
BCM Resources is like in the same genre. Newfoundland Gold, core assets, BCM Resources. The letter B is the stock symbol. Hard not to forget. In the States, it's BCMRF.
Okay.
So now Crescat Capital is funding BCM Resources. They're down in Utah. They're about 15, 20 clicks from the holy of holy mines in the United States of America. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're called Bingham Canyon. They're in Utah, massive copper mine. They've been mining there for 150 years. They pulled out $600 billion worth of metals. I guess if you do it, you got 150 years, you get around to getting some big numbers. Well, these guys are about 15, 20 clicks down the road. This is in Utah. And they got the same, it's a dream team. You got a guy named Sergey is the president. Now, Sergey, he found, and that's why I'm going to make notes because my pronunciations can be somewhat brutal. Oyo Toko. The Oyo Toko,
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. I said it sounds about right.
It's in Mongolia.
Okay.
And it's Robert Friedland, a very famous mining promoter. It's his baby. The deposit is the copper deposit is the size of Manhattan. He made a little mock-up about how big Manhattan is, and he put it over the deposit. That's a good one. Robert's a classic promoter. So, and also Sergey has made he discovered that one, and he's made another big discovery in South America. He worked for BHP, a little company in BHP. Probably the biggest mining company in the world, I'm pretty sure. And then so he becomes president, and he hires this guy, John. And John, he worked for Anglo American and made a big discovery in South America. And the kind of discoveries these are the smartest guys in the business. I mean, they're both geologists, and they both got, how do you call it? They got their medals. I found a mine. It's there's a lot of geologists out there, and not many of them have found mines. So Sergey's found 2, and this guy's found 1. And these were not small situations. So but why I want to bring this up is that link between Newfoundland Gold, core assets, and now BCM. BCM, this company this funding, anyways, Crescat Capital is a Brazilian affair. They got all kinds of, it's the Brazilian sector sort of thing. They own 9.9% of this symbol B, trading symbol B, BCM Resources. And they're ready to, they want to hold that 9%. So if there's another financing, they're going to take 9.9% of that. So these guys are just about to release some results from their drill program, and they're just about to launch. I spoke with one of the directors yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this one. It's 14.5 to 16 cents. It's like you want to buy it when nobody wants it, lads. You got to know that it takes a lot of, you got to bring out your gloves.
So let's tie this. Let's tighten this up.
I even brought teaching helmets. You got to get your gloves out. You got to say okay, but you don't. When you're making an approach and making an investment in a situation like this, don't go and take out the offer and put all the money you want to invest in it right away. Like build a position, because sometimes it may drop off, and the stock moves up, gets out of if it runs up 20-30%, you don't chase it. You got your position, ride it out.
Right.
So it's trading symbol B, and the stock is BCM Resources, and like you asked, and I said, this is a copper porphyry, just like Bingham Canyon, the $600 billion, 150-year-old mine.
Yeah.
And so the powers that be, and we're talking all the top dogs. I mean, I heard the list yesterday. I can't repeat it, but basically, if you've got a multi-billion-dollar mining company, you've already contacted these guys. Seriously. So at 14, 16 cents, FYI, that's me on the bid at 14.5.
Okay,
so,
good to know.
No.
So
I want
again,
you to
for
know
our
that if I'm
viewers,
talking about a stock, not have I done the homework, that I looked into the people, and I've phoned them up, and I made contact with them, all the check marks you should do when you invest in a junior miner. I've done all that for you, and I like this one a lot. Now this one could be a 10-bagger too. Well, but I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to be 3 to 6 months down the road, because they know where it is now. And when you hit a copper porphyry, that, my friend, is also a very important for investors in the copper sector. If you hit a copper porphyry, then you could very well just hit a copper mine, and it's happened many times here in BC. Many times.
We wanted to obviously have you on this week just to feel, because I know that you follow this industry very closely, and let's face it, the mining industry moves super slow for a lot of investors, which has turned a lot of younger investors off. As you said earlier, a lot of them base a lot of their investment strategy on emotion, which I think has always been the case, but I think it actually reigns supreme now in today's new generation investors. But one of the key reasons is just some of the companies that you like. Again, this is not investment advice to our viewers that are watching this. This is just companies that you like, Greg, and we want to obviously just provide information to our viewers that are out there. Last thing I want to touch on, we talked about junior mining stocks. You don't have to go into detail, but I just want to leave this for our audience. What are 2 to 3 things you look for when investing in mining stocks? Because it can be tricky when you quote unquote trying to time the market. But if there's 2 to 3 things that you can say that you look for each and every time, what would you share that with an audience of investors looking to get into this vertical?
Well, macro trend. Okay, so in electric metals, battery metals.
Okay.
This is a macro trend. You got urease, silver, copper, cobalt, aluminum, graphite. Did I miss one? Manganese.
Yep.
I pretty well covered it there. Yeah. So this, I don't have the graphic, but copper, like I've said, and I'm Mr. Peak copper, because inside the next 9 months we're going to hit peak copper. What is peak copper? Peak copper is more used than mined, and that's why and you answer your question, the macro trend. So I know that we're going to get some price shocks inside 9 months on copper. There won't be any copper in the warehouse. Guess what happens to the price?
Right. Okay. So then, what's number two? What's number 2 then?
Well, number 2 is basically is a split between when you like a racetrack, you look at the horse, how it's run before in the Bible. It says, okay, here, you get all the stats. The stable, who's riding the horse. These are all the things. So let's make the horse a mineral deposit, and the stable and the jockey are the promoters and the managers of the company. So that's the whole trinity there. You're looking for a hat trick. You can't, you can't make a high-flying, exciting stock out of cow pasture, though. I'm sorry, moose pasture, though I'm a big moose hunter. And if you know where there's some moose in the pasture, please contact me. So, no. So you got to have the horse is going to win the race, but you got the whole system behind him.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? Get more specific.
These are all the pieces. Like I look at the resource, because we're exploring, right? We're explorers. These are explorers. They discover a mine, and they discover in the mine, the value of those shares skyrocket. That's just the way it's been for hundreds of years.
Okay.
So do you play? Do technicals, individual stock technicals, come into play, Greg? Because a lot of people would argue that,
Well, that's after the fact. That's after the fact from where we are now. So I look at the resource. I look at the people, and sometimes it's not just that you have good management, but you have to have the other side of the coin, the dark side of the coin, the promotion, right? If nobody knows about you, then no one's going to buy your stock. Mm-hmm. So it's a holy trinity there. You got the resources. Like I look into these resources. I speak and read geospeak. So and I sometimes no, I go into it. So I look at the asset and its potential, and this is something you don't learn overnight. And you can learn from other guys like at GoldSeek, on Twitter, go at GoldSeek. Another guy I like is at Gold Stock Trades. And another guy needs a hat tip is at Jody DeRoche. He's the guy running the drill program for PMET. PMET's a lithium play in Quebec. It just went from like 60 cents to $7 yesterday.
Wow.
So see, these are people like I know, and I talk to them, and and I know about geology. Maybe sometimes much more than the younger guys do.
Yeah.
So you can't sell me on something that I already know. The reason I'm calling you is because I've looked into what you got and I like it. Now, you phone a company and you're an investor, and if you don't get someone on the phone when you phone, that's the promotion. It's a dirty word, but that's a promotion. And investors phoning the company, a mining company, a junior mining company, that needs money, investment all the time, and there's no one there answering the phone. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, I'll leave a message. I get pissed off if they don't phone me back that day. I'll leave another message. I leave 3 messages, and if I don't get a call back, then I know that holy trinity, the resource, the management, and the promotion, it's like a 3-legged stool. All of a sudden, there's no promotion. I'm not buying the stock.
Interesting.
It's just like that.
That's
to answer
helpful.
your question. Sorry.
Well said.
Well said. Well, this has been helpful. I know a lot of information to share. Our viewers, let us know. Are there any questions that you want to ask?
You guys didn't mention my shirt and tie today. Okay.
I wanted to off the top.
I'm finding that hurtful.
I wanted to off the top. You got into conversation. I tried to cut you off 3 times because I wanted to talk about the hottest commodity right now, and it happens to be that shirt and tie. Where did you get that?
Okay, this is something, Graham. This is a Tom Baker. Okay, so, anyways, what I'm doing is don't be a fashion victim. Don't be an investor victim. See, like I am now victimizing you with my fashion. See, as opposed to being a fashion victim.
Greg, if they legalize pot, I may want to borrow that shirt. Is that something that we could pull off?
I don't know. It's I'm a big guy. Maybe your wife wants to wear it as a dress. If you have a wife, I'm not judging.
All good.
So and this is what part of my theme today is like. Don't be a fashion victim. Victimize people with your fashion. Don't be an investment victim. Do your due diligence. Follow a couple of pieces of my advice. I'm not here to make it. I'm making my own money. I don't care. I like you guys call me up and give the younger guys a chance to get in on something before it goes.
Yeah.
Like the great Gretzky. I got a cut under my chin. They call it the Gretzky cut, where me and Gretzky were down at the bar then, and there was a fight broke out, and I had to get between. This guy had broke a bottle of beer. He was coming at Gretzky, and I just cut my chin. Anyways,
This is true? This is a true story?
Oh yeah, my life's true. It's weird in fiction. So anyways, I'm quoting the great one. Okay, skate where the puck's going to be. Don't be a putz. Don't follow the puck.
All right.
You're not going to score a goal following the puck. You want to be in the open. Skate where the puck's going to be. Then you get the big numbers.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
Don't be an investment victim. Victimize people. Skate where the puck is going to be. Thanks
Greg,
a lot, guys. I went on too long, but I had a lot. I had more fun than you did.
Greg, appreciate it. Thanks for the advice. Some obviously interesting companies that you said. For our viewers, not sure if you've heard of those companies. Might want to check them out. Obviously, this is not investment advice, but we're here to obviously answer questions that you may have. So leave a comment below. And as usual, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on that bell for all notifications. Greg,
Trade
appreciate your
safe
time.
out there, guys. Trade safe out there.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, wait until you see what we have next. Some of the best thought leaders in the verticals that we cover, from cannabis and psychedelics to cryptos and NFTs and sports wagering. So if you want to learn more, make sure to click on that bell for all notifications, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.